Hey, good morning. This is Charlie with 4BZ Truth. As you can see, I'm just waking up, and I just got done watching the documentary Behind the Curve, and I'm always considering alternative Earth options because I don't know, it's slightly entertaining, and anyways, I've kind of taken a different twist on it as far as the metaphysical alternative Earth theory. And the alternative or the metaphysical side of it is metaphysical, meaning we don't fully understand, or it's outside of the realm of our physical assumption based on experimentation or whatever. I am yet to draw a conclusion on it. I have seen evidence of NASA faking space or having this presentation so that they could deceive. I'm convinced that the moon landing is fake. I can tell you right now that statement is probably going to give me several thumbs down without even having listened to the rest of this video, but people can draw their conclusions. That's one thing that I have kind of set out to do, is that I don't really care to draw conclusions because there's a lot of variables to consider. So, this reality that we're in, if you look at, mainstream science, quote unquote, they talk about this dark matter, this multi-dimensional universes, or a multiverse, whatever you want to call it. These are metaphysical concepts people kind of conjure up in their mind and then build a math equation around it. And the math checks out, but it all goes back to the filter of your projection. Yeah. If you're looking at a puzzle that says this universe is a multiverse, or this, everything is held together by some dark matter, you're going to find a way to, fit that into that keyhole, I guess you could say. And, I have kind of run into a lot of comments that point out that I've made some spelling errors in my video, and while I agree with them that it's not professional or a final product, or shouldn't be a final cut of a video, but it leads me to look at the reality that we're presented in school. Well, I guess in some ways my presentation didn't get an A+. Maybe I got a C because of some spelling errors or some grammar errors or whatever. And it's like, I've never been strong in English, but I've been decent at communicating and presenting a view. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm a guy that's spreading a message, I guess you could say. And I kind of laid down some thoughts on another video that ended up somehow getting deleted from my other phone. I have a new phone now, but I was really excited to cut that video and kind of present it to the world. And it was talking about how we operate in this world that we're in. Now, regardless of what it is around us, like a matrix or some sort of vibrational manifestation, people don't like to extrapolate that there's a God or a creator. They'll call it like the grand consciousness, or the collective consciousness, and everybody kind of draws from the same well of knowledge or information. And my freaking baby's so cute. Anyways, but this metaphysical reality, that I say it's metaphysical because there's so many things you can't explain. And I think that people have drawn way too many conclusions in science. Math is great when you have a structure you're trying to create. I mean, my uncle is a structural engineer, and he has math systems that he uses to create a stable structure. And my brother is a AutoCAD draftsman, and he does the same kind of stuff. He makes sure that mathematically it works on paper, and everything should check out after the math is said and done. But when you have loose ends in science and chalk it up to dark matter, or chalk it up to black holes, or things that kind of fill in that, see, people call it God of the gaps, but what about science of the gaps? Science of the gaps, like dark matter, black holes, things that are trying to fill in the void of relativity. You know, you have Einstein saying, oh, well, there's things that are considered relative, so everything is, to be taken from a relative perspective. Now, I don't really, honestly, I haven't done a lot of research on that concept, but I hear a lot of people talking about it, and I did watch that documentary, The Principle, which talks about a geocentric Earth, and they interviewed Michio Kaku, saying that there's a factor of some number, this out of the, I don't know, this really large number that is a factor. The calculations of our reality are basically off, because of this dark matter or whatever. And so it kind of leaves me to think that we don't understand what's out there. Kind of like when I was looking into DNA, and they have something called junk DNA, and DNA is really the building blocks, or the plans that are written into our very physical body, or our physical. How do they have this DNA that is transferred from one or down the line genetically? If it goes back to some sort of primordial soup where there's algae or some sort of bacteria. Bacteria is very complex. When you're thinking in terms of, my last video, I mentioned irreducible complexity, and irreducible complexity is something Michael Behe put out, and he advocates for there being intelligent design. And it's not necessarily like he's trying to, filter everything through intelligent design as an agenda per se. Yeah, he kind of determined that as an end result through his research, but it was due to the little impeller that's on this little flagellum motor or something they call it, and it's interesting that there are complexities down to a molecular level. Hey, bud, what are you doing? Sorry, my little guy, he's getting upset. Oh, he loves that music. Yeah, bud. Oh, so see, this is my life right here. Lots of distractions. My son is a good distraction, though. I love him. But hey, bud, it's okay. But so yeah, this guy Michael B. He came to the realization that that there's an intelligent designer. Now, I don't really know if that is a manifestation from this white bearded old man up in the clouds, or a flying spaghetti monster, but there's definitely something that like an energy. And this kind of leads me into this thought that I had on a previous video. Each of us are wired into a system, such as like a house that's built. I was in construction, and I've seen houses built, and each house is designed with wiring that connects to the main power source, and but before somebody moves in, that house has to be it may not ever have lights on or anything, because nobody's actually utilizing the actual power that's coming through the house. Now, as far as the power source is concerned, I'm very fascinated by electricity, because we are electrical beings. Hey, bud, it's okay. It's okay. Hey. Yeah, we're electrical beings, and I probably gotta wrap this up. My little guy is kind of getting upset. Well, I'll just finish this thought. So, if we're electrical beings, everything is really electrical in the sense of, I'll give credit where it's due, with the electrical universe. I feel like there's a lot to that. Everything is connected through some sort of electrical power source. And, if that's just on a molecular level, we're all just physical beings that are connected through electricity. That may be true, but I also think that there's something that transcends our ability to perceive, and we are just pondering this reality. It's so crazy to me. We're pondering, the fact that we sit here and think about this reality is crazy to me. I'm more than convinced that there's something beyond us. And I'll bring back the whole near-death experience thing. I feel like near-death experiences, there's patterns. This is my theme. This is my venture, is that there's patterns to reality that you can identify to. There's hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of near-death experiences. Even though they're different in some ways, they're mostly the same. You can see these patterns of, somebody's body dies and then they have an out-of-body experience. They explain things that happen to them. while they're being resuscitated. They go on to this dark place. Some people might call it outer darkness or whatever. And then they see a light that comes down, and then they're drawn up to the light through a tunnel. This is a pattern that I see in almost every single near-death experience that I've seen. They get up to the top of this tunnel, and they come in front of this light being. Sometimes that manifests as Jesus or God or a family member or an angel or a spirit guide, whatever it is. And then they end up having a life review where they'll see their life flash before their eyes, which is like a saying that people have when they're about to die. They see their life flash before their eyes, and then they go and recount all the events of their life, and then everything is timeless. Like they know that they can experience like everything all in one moment, and they have a collective consciousnss that they tap into somehow. And they begin to understand everything, and then and then they are told your time it's not your time. You get to go back to your life, but you need to go back and love people and serve people and take care of people, feed the widows and orphans, or take care of whatever. And it's the same kind of theme that I see throughout lots of religions. If people get upset with the videos that I put out trying to advocate for God or Creator or Jesus or whatever, I just look at the patterns. I'm looking at things that show, there's one thing that I've kind of summed up in the Bible, and that is 1 John. Talks about love. It's like if you have all this knowledge and all this wisdom, but you don't have love, you're just a noisy symbol and worthless to society. I mean, wisdom is good, knowledge is good, but if you don't have love, it's pointless. So I feel like I don't have love for people that are insulting me on YouTube. But you know what? Whatever. I mean, not everybody's going to agree with me. And, hey, bud. And so I'm happy to just continue to let my thoughts kind of flow. And I'll continue to follow these patterns. And, the other thing is that when people come back from near-death experiences, they have some sort of heightened sense, or they might have another sense, like say they might have some sort of power of some kind. I know that sounds silly, but they have like an intuition or something, and the reason I'm not 100% on that is because I've never seen anybody have some psychic ability or whatever, but I wonder how a lot of these near-death experiences have like these they'll wake up in the morgue, they're already been dead for 20, 30 hour, 40 like hours, and then they come back to life. They have this healing that happens that is impossible to explain medically. I don't know what to get from all this, other than I'm just going to keep looking. It's important to me to find an answer, and I just hope that other people that are listening to me will consider that they don't have all the answers. And it's probably good to consider that all they have in their favor is the patterns of reality, and just try to consider all these patterns at the end of your life, you're going to have a puzzle that you've assembled throughout your lifetime. And you're going to have an image that you can look at. So this little guy needs to take a nap. Anyways, I love you guys. I appreciate you hearing my stuff. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, ring the bell notification. I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say as well. So we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.